Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do some crafts using Dollar Tree's 5x7 picture frames. So if you want to know how to make them, stick around. I'll show you how. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Right, Maxwell? Okay, I'm starting with two of the 5x7 frames from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to take the back off and take the glass out. And then I'm going to take those little prongs out too. Just pull them out with some pliers. It's real easy and you want to get all of them out. Next, I'm taking some of the 5-gallon stir sticks and I'm going to cut them in lengths to go all the way across this. Now, this took 5 of these to do, and then you're going to have to shave off the side of one of them, and that's real easy. You're just going to take a sander to do it, but you're going to have to cut 10 pieces total. And next, you're just going to start lining them up inside of your frame, and you want them pushed together. And then on this last one, this is the one that you're going to have to kind of shave down a little bit, and I'm just using the palm sander to do this. You can just use regular sandpaper if you want to, but you only have to shave it down just a little bit, but you want to make sure it fits in that frame. And then you're going to do the same thing with your second frame. You have them all fit in there, then we're going to take them back out, and we're going to hot glue these in. And you don't want to put so much glue that it oozes out the front, but you want enough to where it does grab together. And then we are going to glue the 2 pieces of wood or all the pieces of wood together just right down the side. That way it'll pull in real good and then you won't have any gaps on the front. Just kind of really push them together. This is going to be a pretty tight fit. And you could use E6000 glue if you want to. I'm just using hot glue. If you're going to put this outside with a plant on it or anything like that, you probably do want to use the E6000 glue. Okay, then on your last one, you just want to make sure that you push it up there just tightly also, because you want this to be a solid piece on the front, and then do the other one exactly the same way. And then if you don't want to use the paint stir stick, you could cut a piece of balsa wood the size of that opening and just put one solid piece in. But I think that this really did give it a little bit of character to have the little slats. Okay, next I'm taking the thick piece of cardstock and I'm going to cut it so that I can get a backing onto the back of this frame. And you're going to cut 2 of those exactly the same size. And then we are going to cut the corners out so that we can put our little riser stands on here. And I'm just cutting out 2 sides on this one. You want to cut all 4 because I had to go back in there and do all 4. So you're going to cut the other side exactly the same way, and then you're just going to glue this right to your frame. And this is going to be a plant riser, so when you cut out your squares in the corners, just figure out what size legs that you want to use, because you want to make sure that they are going to be glued to the frame, not to the paper. And then you're going to do the same thing with your other frame. And this is like a cover type cardstock. You could use a piece of chipboard if you wanted to, just something that's thick. This is where I came back in and cut out my other corners. Next, I'm taking some 15mm half beads, and I'm just going to line them all the way up around my frame. Just kind of space them out however you want to. But I'm going to lay mine out first, and then I'm going to start gluing them. And I'm going to do this to both my frames. And this was the easiest way to do this so that you did have it all spaced out exactly like you want to first, and then just go all the way around and glue each one of your little beads in. Now, I bought these on Amazon. I'll give you the link for them. You could use any size half bead that you want to. I just think it gave it a nice decorative look. Okay, next I'm taking a water-based stain in the color Whole Wheat. I got that on Amazon. I'll give you the link for it. And I'm going to stain my entire piece. Now, this is not going to stain your plastic frame. It'll give a little bit of tint, but it really didn't stain it. And it's going to look like a hot mess while I'm doing this, but I promise it's all going to come together. And you kind of want to put the stain on heavy and then come back in with the rag and remove any excess off of there. Okay, next I'm using these little peg people for my legs. They measure about 2 1/8 inch in length, and I'm going to stain them with that same wood stain. And you don't have to stain the bottom. You want to probably leave it open because we are going to glue this to our little riser. And I'm doing 8 of these. And next I'm going to use some white chalk paint and a chip brush, and I'm just going to kind of go over this, and I'm going to go fast on this so you can see what I'm doing, but I'm putting quite a bit of the white on here. Just kind of take your time on this, wipe off a lot of it onto your paper towel, and then continue until you get it as white as you want. And I am making mine very white. You want to make sure that you're getting the sides as well. And I'm doing both of my little trays exactly like this. I'm going to take some sandpaper. This is a 220 grit, and I'm just kind of lightly rolling over the little half beads just to kind of distress them up and bring some of that wood color back through these. The same thing with the legs, and you can just kind of distress them and kind of get them real close to the same color as your trays. And you're going to do all 8 of them. Next, to attach the legs, I'm just going to use some E6000 glue, and I'm just going to put these right into the corner of each one of these. So you're going to have 8 legs on this. And then just set that aside and let that dry. And I'm not using any hot glue with this at all. I'm just using the E6000 glue only. I think it was a little bit stronger to do it this way. After those have dried, I'm going to connect these on the long side, and I'm taking a 5-gallon stir stick and I'm going to mark it down one side, and I'm going to cut 2 of these. Now you could use your riser just like it is right now, but if you want it to go to the next level, I would definitely frame it in like I'm showing you here, and you're going to cut 2 of those. Okay, next we're going to line them up on both sides, and then we're going to cut one for the front and the back. So just hold your stick up there with that one on there, and then you're going to figure out exactly where you need to put the other one, and you're going to mark it. And we're going to cut 2 of these, one for the front and one for the back. You want it overlapping both sides. And you're going to cut 2 of those. Okay, next I'm going to take 3 little craft sticks. I'm going to take 8 of the little Jenga blocks. And then I'm going to stain all of these so that they'll match the tray. And then I'm going to come back in with some of the white paint, and I'm going to distress them. We want them to blend in with the top part of the tray. And I'm doing this to all my pieces. To assemble this, I'm just going to take some E6000 glue, and I'm just going to go right down the side of that frame. And I'm just putting kind of like a thin layer on here. And you can put a little hot glue on here if you want to. I did on the rest of it. I didn't on this side. So just kind of line that one up. Make sure that it is really straight, and then clamp it. And then get the excess glue off of it. And these clamps are not real expensive. I'll give you a link for these in the description below, but I would highly recommend adding some of these to your toolbox. And then let that dry. And then while that's drying, you can go ahead and turn it over, and you can add your Jenga blocks to the back just for the bracing. And I'm just going to put hot glue and E6000 glue on this just to push these up to the side. You're going to do the exact same thing with the other tray. You're going to glue that on exactly the same way, and then you're going to clamp it. Okay, next I'm going to glue my 2 trays together right in the center. And this is on the side that does not have the stir stick on it. And then just push those together and then let those dry. You don't need to clamp this. Just kind of push them together. And then we're going to take our long piece and we're going to glue it right along the side, just like we did on the 2 sides. And using the hot glue in the center to hold it together, that'll hold it together while you are getting the face on there and then the back on there. And then just attach your side. Just make sure it is straight. And then you're going to clamp it on both sides. If you don't have clamps and you don't want to use the E6000 glue, you could glue this entire thing together if you want to with just hot glue. You just won't be able to use it outside. Okay, after that's dry, just flip it over, and we're going to add our Jenga blocks for our braces along the side, just like we did the other ones. And we're using E6000 glue and hot glue to attach both of these. And you're going to do the same thing for the opposite side. Then to attach the front part, you're going to do it exactly like you did for the back. We're using some E6000 glue. And I am going to run some hot glue down the 2 legs of the front part to hold this together. So just put a little bit right there and there, put that on there, and then clamp this together. And then we'll flip it over and we'll do all of our bracing on the back. We're going to attach our Jenga blocks to the bottom part. And in the craft sticks, we're going to run 3 of them across to hold the 2 together just to give it a little extra bracing. All right, this was a pretty quick and easy project, and I think it's turned out so pretty. Let me know what you think in the comments. Okay, for this next one, I'm going to use 4 of the Dollar Tree 5x7 frames. And I'm just going to remove all the parts of them, including the glass. Also going to pull the little tab off the bottom. Just kind of rip that off of there and just tear that off of there. And do that for all 4 of them. Next, we're going to start putting these together. We're going to make a box, and we're just going to use some E6000 glue to attach this. I'm not going to use any hot glue on this. And then I am going to clamp them with some little corner clamps, and I'll give you the link for those in the description below. So you're just going to line your two sides up, make sure that they are standing up straight and that they are connected good. And then just these little clamps, you just pull them back, and then you just lift them right up over the top part, and they hold the corners together. These work really good. I'll give you the link for these. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom. Just kind of get them lined up good. Make sure that they are straight. And then go ahead and clamp the bottom. And then put that aside and let that dry. And then we're going to do exactly the same thing with the other two frames. And then set all of this aside and let this really set up good. Make sure it is dry. After those are dry, we're going to start connecting the other two, and we're going to use some little Jenga blocks to brace these on each side. And I'm just using hot glue to attach these, and I'm going to put one down at the bottom and one down at the top, and this will give us a nice square edge. And then I'm going to do this to both sides. And then when we get the other two sides connected, we're going to add some more on the other two. We're just going to attach the two together, and we're just going to use some E6000 glue just like we did before on both sides. Now you want to glue them at the same time, and then we're going to clamp these as well. Just kind of line them up real good, and just make sure that you do have a square box. Make sure you are putting it together correctly. I'm just using regular clamps to clamp the bottom too. And then make sure you get any glue that's oozing out off at this time. And then while that's drying, you can go ahead and add your other Jenga blocks on the other two corners. Just putting one kind of towards the bottom and one towards the top. Okay, next I'm taking two of the ceiling tiles from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut around the glass that was in my frame. I'm just cutting these out because that's what's going to go in place of the glass. And I'm just taking an X-Acto knife to cut these out. And then you can fix them perfectly after you get it cut out. Just cut them out roughly right now. And you're going to cut 4 of these. So you're going to need 2 of the tile sheets. And you could use any kind of thing that you want to for your insert. I just am using these. And I'm going to cut 4 of them. Got them cut out. We're just going to paint them with some black chalk paint. And I'm going to cover them completely. Those are dry, and I'm going to make my base. Now this wood measures 7 1/4 inches, so I'm going to cut it into a 7 1/4 inch square. Next, to decorate the edges up, I'm just taking a quarter trim. This is just a quarter trim for like a wall or something like that. You get these at Lowe's. They're pretty inexpensive, and I'm going to run it down the length of each side, and I'm going to cut 4 of these. This will just not trim it out nicely. And I'm going to stain all of my pieces with just a dark wood stain. And you can use any color you want. I just used what I had on hand. And I'm going to stain the front, the back, and the sides of this. And I'm going to stain the inside and the outside of all my little wooden pieces. So I'm going to take a little brayer and some French linen chalk paint. And I'm just going to roll over the top of this. So I'm only going to really get the raised edges of this. This just gave it a little bit of a more vintage look instead of it being solid black. And you're just rolling it over with the paint, and it'll just pick up the raised areas. And I'm going to do that to all 4 of mine. Next, the backing that came out of our frame, we're going to attach each of our pieces to the backing so we can put it back inside of our frame. And we're just going to use hot glue to glue this. And then once you get it glued on, then you can just take some scissors and trim it out because you want to make sure that it matches the backing. Just kind of push it on there real good and then just trim it out so that it is the same size as the backing. And you're going to do that with all 4 of your pieces. And then you're just going to come into the back part of the frame and attach this in, and then just bend your little tabs over. And I'm going to do that for all 4 of my pieces. Now you could use any kind of insert that you want to. Another good idea would be to use some of the Dollar Tree placemats. I got some really pretty placemats right now, and you could put those in there instead. Or you could add pictures, or you could add anything that you print on your computer. Next, I flip my box over to the bottom. I'm taking some of the Jenga blocks to attach. This is how we're going to glue it to our stand. Just make sure that they are flat and not raised up over the edge. And you're going to put 2 on each side. And I'm just gluing these in with just regular hot glue. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of glue right onto the bottom part of those to glue them in. And then I'll put all the rest of them in once I got that one set. Just kind of make sure that you do have it centered on your board. For the other 6, I decided to use some E6000 glue and some hot glue both on this. That way to make sure that it does stay in place. And you're just putting 2 on each side. To finish it off, I'm just going to attach my wood pieces, 1 to each one of the corners. And I'm just using hot glue on this. You can use E6000 glue and hot glue if you plan on putting this outside. I'm just going to keep this inside and put a plant in it. And just try to make sure that you do have these lined up at the top. And then do the same thing for the opposite side. This was a pretty quick and easy project. This next one, I'm just going to use 6 of the picture frames, and I'm going to take all the glass, the backing, and everything out of them. I'm just using the frame itself. Pulling all the little tabs out the back. I'm just using a pair of pliers to do this. Just pull each one of those out. Okay, next I'm going to take them and I'm just going to line them all up. And I'm putting 6 of them together, 3 across the top and 3 across the bottom. And turn it to the side that has the opening in it where the glass was sitting. Okay, to attach these, I'm just going to use some craft sticks. These are the kind of the jumbo craft sticks. And I'm just going to put them right at each one of the joints. And I'm just going to use hot glue to attach these. Okay, then I'm just going to start attaching them with the hot glue. And I'm going to put quite a bit of hot glue on here. And then when you put it on there, really pull those 2 together so that you don't have any gap between them. And you can get this pretty squared off pretty easily. Now I'm going to go fast on this so you can kind of see what I'm doing. But I'm just going to put one between every section. And then I'm going to come back in with a smaller craft stick to put along the bottom edge. And this really does hold well. Once I got it finished, it was pretty solid. But just really line it up, pull them together so you don't have any gaps between them. You can line this up pretty easily. And then on the bottom area, because there wasn't enough room for the big craft stick, I'm just using the smaller craft sticks. And I'm going to put 1 at each one of these sections. Next, I'm going to take some Waverly chalk paint in the color Truffle, and I'm going to add a little bit of water to this because it was a little bit thick. I'm just kind of thinning it down just a hair. And then I'm going to paint the entire front, back, and sides with this color, and I'm just using a chalk paintbrush. Just really get it on there good, smooth it out, make sure you don't have any clumps, but you're going to cover the entire thing. Coming in with a sponge brush just to kind of soften up the colors. It just kind of gets it blended in a little bit better. To stress it, I'm using a chip brush and some white chalk paint. I'm dipping most of it off onto a paper towel, and then I'm just coming in here and then just brushing it. I'm kind of dry brushing this. And you can add as much or as little as distress as you want to. I'm going to add quite a bit, and I'm going to do the front and the back both on this one. Just kind of do dry strokes, kind of take most of the paint off with your paper towel, and then you don't have big clumps in areas that you don't want them. I always start light and then build on it, because if you don't and you get too much of the paint on there, then you're going to be back painting it back brown again. Next, I got these little L brackets from Lowe's, and I got these little paper brads from Amazon, and I'm just cutting the back of them off, and then I'm going to flatten out the inside of the back with my pliers. And I'm going to do 16 of these little paper brads to go onto my 4 brackets. Next, I'm just going to hot glue these on the opening on each one of those little holes. And then I'm going to spray paint these with some metallic oil rub bronze paint. Okay, now those are dried, I'm just going to glue these right into the corners on all 4 corners. And I'm just using hot glue on this. It just kind of gave it a little bit more decorative look. To decorate my windows, I'm just going to take this wreath that I got at Hobby Lobby, and I'm going to take some gray and white checked ribbon, and I'm just going to tie it up at the top. Well, I'm not going to tie it at the top. I'm going to glue it at the top. So just pull it on up there, however much you want it to hang down, and then we're going to wrap it around the back and glue that in. Just flip it over and then kind of line it up, cut off any excess, and then just glue that in. And I'm going to glue both layers, so just kind of really make sure that you do get it lined up before you glue it. And then I just cut a little piece of a craft stick, and I'm going to paint it with the brown paint to match. Just going to glue it right over the top of that ribbon just to make sure that it is secured. And then I got a straight piece of that same metal at Lowe's, and I'm going to paint that with the oil rub bronze paint as well, just to secure it over that ribbon. Now that that's dry, I'm just going to put a little bit of hot glue on the back of it, and I'm just going to center it right in the center over that ribbon. That way your ribbon won't twist. And I'm taking 2 more of those little brads. I've already painted these that color, and I'm just going to remove the bottoms of them, and then I'm going to glue them right into those 2 holes. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the video today. I hope it gave you some inspiration. If you like these kind of videos, be sure and give me a like, subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified when I have a new video upload. Thank y'all so much for being here with me. I really appreciate it. And if nobody's told you today, you're awesome. See you next time. Thanks for watching.